Good evening, everybody. It's Dan Baird with the Rumination Project, and welcome to episode 13 of the Rumination Project's Mental Health Monday. Today, we are talking about personal boundaries, and as always, my co-host Rasta here will join me. How are you doing, Rasta?
Good evening, everybody. Happy Labor Day. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. We're having a broadcast tonight on a holiday because mental health doesn't have holidays. So glad you're here.
It's a normal day to me. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I feel like every day is another day to me. And Monday,
Right.
It feels like Sunday to me today instead of Monday. And but I think it's a good time to just bring up and talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people don't have boundaries for themselves, and when you don't have boundaries for yourselves, you're not taking very good care of your mental health. And
Absolutely.
We talk about the subject and talk about what it means. And I've been bad at respecting boundaries myself in the middle of my mental health. When I was at the worst of it, I definitely did not respect people's boundaries, and I didn't understand what that really meant until now. And that was more anxiety driven than anything. I just had a lot of anxiety, and I didn't respect people's boundaries because of that anxiety. And we have also
I had no idea what boundaries.
Go ahead.
I had no idea what boundaries were until I got sober, and I found out what boundaries were real quick, and that I didn't obey them, or I didn't have any kind of healthy boundaries. So I'm grateful to hear that this topic tonight is supposed to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a guest tonight, somebody from Misfit Island, so y'all probably know him, and we'll bring him up right now. Frank, what's going on? You're on mute there too, Frank.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was backstage.
There you go.
How's everybody going tonight?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, doing good.
We like having guests up here when we talk about anything, because everybody deals with all the same things. We all have mental health. We all have to take care of it, and, find joy and happiness in life. And
what up, Josh?
We appreciate you up here.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody joining us. Mike, Jenny, Sir Stevo, Lisa, what's going on, guys?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Kim.
I think that's Debbie. Debbie, is that you again on the Facebook user? Might have to
you're right, Debbie. It wasn't you. It was someone else, and I got it. But thank you for being honest again.
I may have to send out that link again to go to StreamYard/Facebook and hit that.
Yeah, I'll put it down there.
Yeah, many people don't have boundaries. I deal with physical boundaries sometimes, and I hate when I'm at a store and somebody walks really close to me and they don't respect that boundary. I think there should be like a 2-foot perimeter around you that when people get into it, that's a little too close. And I get uncomfortable, and sometimes I get a little angry, but I kind of usually just walk away because I just don't understand. I don't respect those boundaries. Especially when the pandemic happened, I kind of liked that. I kind of enjoyed that part of it. People staying away.
Physical boundaries I've always been good with. I'm not good with people in this area. That's one thing my dad taught me about. That reach, then if they're close friends, there's a reason they should be in there. But other boundaries, that's the ones I always struggled with. Is the, I don't know. We'll go over what they're called tonight, I'm sure. But boundaries in relationships with people, that are healthy. I didn't know what my limits were, and so I pushed them to the extent, especially in my addiction.
Yeah. Boundaries are cultural too. She's right. Yeah, they very much are. That's why when you go to another culture, you can be kind of shocked by their boundaries are so much different. And that's the culture shock that can sometimes take place.
Okay, there's the link again. I just want to try to go again.
I've dealt with that too when I went to El Salvador, and I was kind of shocked by their boundaries seemed a lot more looser. They were just a lot nicer, and they seemed to be more letting you into their space, There are a lot of societies that are a lot more open, and like if you come to their city, they welcome you with open arms. They feed you and let you into their home. And there's some places where they like you go to New York City or Chicago. There's a lot of basically a-holes up there who would never do that. And not picking on those, but there's communities like that all over where people just they're not open like that to open. Yeah, Asian culture's no personal space at all. She's right, but I feel like there's so many. China has so many people in their country that they're all crowded together, so they're used to invading each other's space.
I've been to China. I was there for a week, and
that's what's going on.
It is very, very close quarters with each other. No one has that issue. They turn and speak kind and greet each other. Everybody's very welcoming. They don't like tips. Whatever their pay was that they were already getting is all they want. If you try to give them more, they try to throw it back at you. Like, they don't want it.
I know. I was talking to a guy that. Oh, go ahead. I thought you were finished.
They set their boundary there as this was my pay, and this is what I was worth doing this, nothing else. So they that's another boundary type thing, and another way that they do theirs. I get this, and this is what I'm entitled to, nothing more.
Right.
And that's important.
It's rude to accept anything more than what everybody else is getting that does the same job.
And I respect that. That's a big thing about boundaries that I learned in recovery is once you set them, you have to keep them. Because if I move that boundary just a little bit, then they're going to push that little bit. Then they're going to want me to push a little more, and then I let that go. Then next thing you know, that boundary, they don't take it serious, and it's not there anymore. It's like a joke. So I got to hold my boundaries and stick to them. I know. Speaking of that, like in China, I was talking to a guy, a Middle Eastern guy. I think he was from India, but he owned one of the local stores around here, and it was around Thanksgiving. I said, just curious. I said, what do you guys? He said, well, eating's all the same. He says over there. He said, if I'm out of something, I just walk over to my neighbor's house, walk in the door, go to the refrigerator, grab what I need, and go home, and we're good. I don't knock nothing. He said that's what everybody does. They just kind of go to, oh, I need this. So Fred's probably got it. Frank's probably got it. I'll go over there and it just shows that, the boundaries in different cultures are way different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I just recently came back from setting boundaries myself, from being online and doing things to not really being online too much, just sporadically, and getting everything set. And now I'm ready, so I'm back on, and I'm back here.
Well, we're glad to have you back, man.
Glad you're back in action.
It was a much needed and break that I needed to do to set boundaries myself and where I needed to stand, and where I needed.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we see Debbie.
We see her name. But everybody needs to set boundaries. I also think that you should, taking time off from doing some things that you kind of feel overwhelmed with is good as well. And that can be part of a boundary as well. I'm like, after this so-and-so time, I'm going to take a week or two off, and people need to respect that, and make those kind of decisions. And those can be really helpful for your mental health.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Separating yourself from things that can become toxic and weighing down. And we even talked about that with our podcast, where we were going to take a week off at one point and kind of get a reset. And that there's nothing wrong with that. If you see us take a week off in the future, folks, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with our podcast. So we would take a mental health break, and everybody needs one of those.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Please knock before coming to my house.
Self-care is so important, and that's, like I always talk about, guys, putting an oxygen mask on you first so you can take care of that person next to you, whoever it may be. For
sure. The thing about the that's kind of changed in our society. The boundaries of people coming to your house. We seem to 30 years ago, it was okay to come to your house and knock. And now when people do, it's more of an inconvenience. People don't like it. You're kind of invading their space, and a lot more than it seemed to 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people want that their space, especially in their house. And I like my boundary is if
and I think a lot of that.
You text me, before you come over.
Very much
So that's my boundary usually.
And I think that's a big difference, compared to before there were cell phones, because you couldn't always call a person. Some people didn't have phones. So you just go over there, knock on the door. Hey, what are you doing? But people got used to, hey, text me before you come over, or give me a call, or, stuff like that, which is common courtesy. I get that. I like that boundary I have myself. Don't always happen, but, the people closest to me know. There's sometimes random people, but they just don't know. It's just, not being an asshole. They just ignorant, don't know.
And nothing wrong taking a minute to get your mind right. And I'm glad I'm not the only one with I don't like people just stopping by my house.
Yeah.
Just call ahead.
I would rather have a phone call, or you talk to me at a different time and say, hey, I'm going to come by on this day at this time, if that's all right. And I'll remember that and I'll be here. But if you're not coming, I want a phone call. Like, cause if you set it up in advance, I'm waiting and I'm going to be here on my end. So make sure you show up on your end here where I'm waiting, because I'm going to be there. And if I can't be there at that moment, I'm going to be like, hey, give me 20 more minutes. Then I'll be all good. Like, I'm real big on that communication, because that's another boundary. You got to set it where if someone doesn't communicate, that's a boundary that's crossed. That you got to have that communication and boundaries. Otherwise, no one knows what's going on, and a boundary can then be crossed that you didn't want crossed.
Absolutely. Communication's key, and a lot of it, especially, boundaries. You can't voice your boundaries and it's not heard, and it's not valid. Well, it's not that it's not valid, but it's not respected.
No hashtag yet. Not that I know of. I think this may be one of the few episodes where we're actually not giving something away.
You're damn right. You heard it from me.
Excuse me.
20 more minutes ahead. We can actually play this first video that kind of explains more about what personal boundaries are, and then we can discuss more here. So it's just a short 2-minute video. Bring it up here and stream, and we'll play it here.
Today we're talking about personal boundaries, the invisible lines that define the edges of who we are. Personal boundaries help us navigate in the world. Knowing and managing where we end and the other person begins is essential to living a satisfying and healthy life. But when our boundaries are crossed, it can make us feel stressed, confused, and anxious. And as with most things to do with our brains, boundaries aren't one size fits all. We each set our own boundaries to allow some people to come close or to keep others at a distance. People can violate your boundaries in a number of ways. When someone does this, it's a big red flag. For example, if someone makes you feel like you don't have the right to your own individual thoughts and feelings, big red flag. Have you ever been told that you're responsible for someone else's bad behavior, violence, or abuse? A huge red flag. Or if someone always expects you to return texts or calls immediately, that's another red flag. Learning to manage our own boundaries is a necessary step in learning to love ourselves and others. When you set a boundary and the people in your life respect it, that's a huge sign that this is the type of person you want in your life. Like when someone asks your permission and doesn't force you into an uncomfortable situation, or when someone allows you to disagree with them without retaliation, or when you're allowed to say no to anything, including sex, drugs, parties, even requests for your time. When you're able to identify red and green flags, it allows you to strategically share your life with those around you. By strategically strategic sharing, we mean that in every situation, you decide who has access to your body, mind, and personal information. With time and practice, you'll get better at being able to identify the red and green flags that define your personal boundaries. Through that process, you'll gain more trust in yourself and will be able to strategically share more of your life with the people around you that you know you can trust.
Yeah, that's a really good explanation of boundaries, and I think we all kind of knew what it meant anyway, but that kind of defined it better. And I like how they put the square around it because it's a symbol of the boundary, and I think that a lot of people just don't understand that word nowadays. Yeah, or a lot of people don't even know what their boundaries are because we're so suffocated by life. A lot of times the best way to establish and know your boundaries is to meditate or sit in a quiet room with your own thoughts and figure out what makes you comfortable and what, your fears, your wants, and your needs, and even write those down. It can really help you a lot.
It can.
Yeah. One of the things I did was, I made a mental note of things that triggered my anger or triggered my anxiety or triggered this or that whenever I was around people. Especially people that annoyed me. And I come to find out, this one time, a sponsor, he asked me, he says, I was telling him about a guy that really bugged the piss out of me. And he said, all right, well, I want you to write the guy's name at the top of the page. Then I want you to write down everything about that guy that annoys you. And I did. He says, all right, are you done? And I talked about it all, He says, all right, now erase that name. I said, all right, I erased the name. He says, now put your name there. I said, well, shit. Because a lot of that shit on that list was stuff that I did, and I seen it in him, and it bothered me, or that I used to do even before my recovery. And I was like, wow, and it reminded me to set some boundaries and to also identify some boundaries, where they might be, where they might lay, and how I used to cross them.
Yeah, and I noticed that Elisa May said we sometimes know the boundaries and we still cross them. And I told you earlier that I had such severe anxiety that if somebody didn't message me back, I felt like it was like attacking my character, like they didn't like me, they had a problem with me, and that would build up anxiety to where I would then get mad at them for not texting me back, and that's not a way to respect their boundaries. And I had a lot of issues with that. Now that I've kind of dealt with my anxiety, I realized that like no matter how long it takes somebody to message me back, shouldn't get mad about that, or and there's still people who do get mad about that when somebody doesn't message them back or do it in a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's a hard boundary to establish, because sometimes you can take it personal when somebody doesn't message back, but then you have to kind of respect that boundary of theirs as well.
And that's the thing about text messages, is a lot of times they're taken out of context, or the length or whatever it may be, and and we never know what's happening on the other end of that phone. Somebody could have just gotten a car wreck because they were talking on the phone, or they could have their dog could have got loose or something.
Yeah,
who knows? Or fire might have started in their house.
Yeah.
Or they could be an asshole and just say, fuck you.
Yep. They could be working overtime and don't have service where they're at or something like that. A lot of my stuff, because I do the Charter Spectrum and putting in fiber.
I'll show my name.
And not the fiber itself, but the conduit too. So we could end up in the middle of a farm field somewhere. There's no service.
Yeah.
You get service when you get back to the hotel and get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So,
ever since my brain injury, getting the shit beat out of me, I was in a coma for about 8 days, so I forget stuff like walking into another room, not just like normal, but I just totally forget. I'll walk into the room and not even know why. Fuck, I'll sit down and start watching TV and be like, what the hell? But, and just forgetting all kinds of stuff. It sucks. It drives me nuts. I've learned to accept it, because it's been 11 years, but, it's still, it sucks. because I feel bad, about not getting back to somebody or doing something that, if it's something important, I say I'm going to do something. I'll write it down. Sometimes I'll lose that piece of paper. It's just I'm a mess. I'm trying to get more organized lately. A lot of things are helping between me working on my own recovery, the lion's mane, and just trying to be more mindful about things.
Yeah, and people sometimes about not responding. Sometimes there's times where I kind of meditate and I stay away in my own little space where I may not message somebody back for a couple hours, and that's, some people are like that, and maybe even half a day. They just, have to kind of be into themselves and not have that. Like Ashley says, sometimes it takes days to respond. Life happens and people need to understand that. But we're so good.
Best answer I can get.
So used to the now nowadays with our text messaging and instant ability to communicate. It used to be, back in the 90s, we didn't have that. You had to go ride down to your friend's house to talk to them, or call them on their phone and hope nobody was on the internet when you called them,
Yeah.
But nowadays, people are just communicating constantly all night long, and
everybody wants that instant gratification, and they listen to respond rather than listen to understand.
Well, Lisa.
Can I cross your boundaries still? They're set in stone. Okay.
That's great.
Oh, that's a good idea, Kim. Yeah, them two are hilarious.
I used to message myself stuff as well. Do that. Writing it down, having just a notebook.
Yeah.
That helped me whenever I wrote things down, because then I would just write everything in the same notebook and I couldn't lose nothing. I'd have to lose the whole damn book, and that was pretty hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get those little notepads anymore. I lose them so much all the time.
Yeah, yep, screw that. Give me a regular full college ruled notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man, there's nothing wrong with communicating your boundaries from the beginning. And
hell yeah, Mike. Yep, that's how I am too. I pretty much let her know how I am. And
hi, Jimmy.
What's going on? It makes being a single guy, it makes dating interesting when some people don't even respect their own boundaries or just communicate well or stuff like that, and we run into that a lot nowadays. And I think just communicating is a way to set a healthy boundary, and just not, people seem to ghost people or disappear or just not respond, or
right.
And more or less not because they're busy. It's more or less that's just the way they are. They just disappear.
Yep.
We got so many Facebook users tonight. It's probably just Facebook being weird. But we can put that you go to StreamYard/Facebook and you can give them permission to show your name. Because it looks like it just keeps resetting people's accounts, or you go to it and the next day it's back to Facebook user.
Yeah.
There's I forget it does it like 6 times. There's the link.
You can put it down there and select all and just select which page it goes to. Although you can't select Misfit Island because Misfit Island's a private group.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes I forget to text back, or I have I run a business, so sometimes if somebody's messaging me something personal during the day, I have to take care of business first. Maybe a couple hours sometimes. Or something, then I just forget to message all back altogether. But that's sometimes life.
Joe, silly.
He's trying.
Joe,
it's been hard to get into the boundary.
I'm trying to keep up with all of this because you put 6 comments in there now. See, it's like there's a whole bunch of comments now.
Very much so.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta finally establish your boundaries and just tell people, how it is. Being blunt sometimes the best way to communicate.
Yeah, it's always worked for me.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
is the complete sentence.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle to say no, and that was one of the ways that people get walked over nowadays, is they just don't say no, and then people take advantage of that.
Yep.
That's the thing that happens the most in our society, is people taking advantage of people who don't have boundaries. They don't have boundaries for themselves. And when you don't have boundaries for yourselves, you're not taking care of yourself first or loving yourself.
Yep.
If you can't do that, you can't help other people. So that's the basic, principle of having a healthy life, is setting your own boundaries so that you can have a healthy life.
We just started at 8 o'clock, Vicky. We were late tonight ourselves. Dan had a previous engagement he had to take care of. And
yeah, you can thank fantasy football. The NFL starts this week, and there's probably millions of fantasy drafts going on this week. So I'm sure some of you people out there know about that.
Yep, that's why the name's Frank, because I'm frank about things.
There you go.
Very
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, not to do something. That's the thing. That's more probably people not being just aware. Like, some people just lack awareness, and then you tell them something, and then they don't even have the awareness to realize that you said it, and they're still crossing that boundary. And I talk about that too, when people aren't aware of whether they're talking too much and overwhelming us. Like we talked about on a podcast, where somebody talks 80% of the time, that can be very disrespectful, not respecting other people's boundaries.
And sometimes people just are clueless. They don't take hints, so you gotta draw them a picture.
Yeah. Or
And
just
communication is the best way. I, and then your statement. I statements. And I feel this way when you do this. Or when you do this, this is how I feel, and it makes me.
Very much. Rather be joint than a blunt. There you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty blunt. I'm rolling a blunt too here now.
Thanks for joining us, Vicky. Appreciate it. Hit those. Don't forget to hit those reaction buttons, folks. Got 13 people watching. You got 9 reactions.
Tonight
we're talking about boundaries. And,
Mike says I crossed the boundary now. Never mind. I just got to look. It almost killed me.
That's great.
But if you guys notice, also, we have a nice little background here. Finally, we have our website, my website for Great River Mushrooms, which is a sponsor for Misfit Island, and of course, the sponsor for my own.
Oh, yeah. Much love, man.
So go check out Great River Mushrooms. I have about 20 plus items. I've been started it last Wednesday, and it's been a really successful rolling out. So I appreciate everybody who's bought something. And go check it out. There's a lot of cool infused items. The lion's mane, it's been selling like crazy, and the CBD, CBG, really affordable price for a really great item. So, and we got the Peer Mental Health Monday. We got presented live on Misfit Island. As always, we're exclusive to Misfit Island, the only group we go to. So a lot of you are watching from there. And we got 9 over on Misfit Island. Appreciate it, y'all watching tonight.
Oh yeah!
Right on.
Yo.
Always appreciate you guys joining in and talking about mental health and all the comments. And thanks, Joe, for the putting the website out there. And we'll run specials from time to time on our podcast. I didn't have anything set today because it's been such a crazy last 3 days trying to keep my items stocked because you guys
been busy filling orders.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll probably have random
website.
We'll have random discounts probably during our podcast, and we'll give out the code to get some items at discount. So just pay attention, join in our streams and our mental health podcast as well.
Yeah, it's pretty neat watching Dan fill the capsules today with the lion's mane. I was wondering how he did it. It's a pretty neat process.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy process, but it works well, and I can make a lot of capsules. I love the fact that I made eight bottles of CBD CBG last night, and I'm already down to 2 of them.
Those are hard conversations to have, Ashley.
So I took this time. I was prepared. I actually took some of my products to a party I went to yesterday, and I ended up selling about $80 worth of products. Because a lot of times I go to these parties and people talk about the same thing we're talking about on my podcast. You know, they see what I'm talking about, or I just bring up mental health or something, and then we get into the conversation about natural medicine. So I love that we're having these same conversations in real life that I am with people, because they see my podcast and it starts that conversation.
Oh yeah.
I'm good. Not tonight, Joe. We're running late. We had a late show tonight.
I'm lost in the fell behind in the comments. There we go. I was trying to figure out where I was because I streamed down too much.
Right there.
WTIF? Are you confused, Joe?
This is MHM.
Yeah, thanks I appreciate it, Vicky. Yeah, a lot of people have been telling about the word of mouth is working really great, and I appreciate everybody who's told their friends and told their families. A lot of people have bought products for their other family members to give to them because they like them so much. So
yeah,
appreciate it. And I think I'm getting better at making them more potent. I think the CBD CBG is I'm learning ways to make it even more potent in infusions.
Nice.
Because my newest batch is even more potent, and I've been doing it slightly different temperatures, experimenting a little bit with trying to infuse it even better, because there is a science to it, but there's not many books you can read or write or to learn that knowledge, so you kind of have to do it yourself.
I just got me some coconut oil today.
There you go.
Gotta try. That's not the brand Dan uses, but I'm just trying to do an experiment to see how to infuse it and how it works. I'll have to order the good stuff off Amazon or something. They don't sell it at my Walmart. Me too, Mike.
Weird. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, hit up greatrootmushrooms.com where we try to ship things out really fast. That's my goal, is to get your item when you order it and get it to you in 2 to 3 days.
Speedy Gonzalez shipping under the EPA.
And as well, I do have CBD available only, and I will have CBG only. So I have a CBD CBG mix. I'll have the CBD alone and the CBG alone as well that you can buy, because they'll both be stronger. So the CBG will have 20 milligrams of CBG only in it. And I do have a customer that buys that monthly, so that's why I still make it.
Yeah, I keep my Amazon Prime pretty much canceled unless I absolutely have to make an order of something kind of big. Or if they have a free trial, then I'll go for the free trial and cancel it whenever it's done.
Yeah.
Or if there's a movie I want to watch or something like that, and we'll get it for a month and then cancel. It's on our budget and what we want to do.
Yeah. We had it and got rid of it.
Yeah, for sure. Establish boundaries. Thanks, Mike. Made a post to advertise on the page. Appreciate it. And CBD and CBG are both different. CBG has a stronger effect on the nervous system, and it has different effects on your digestive system as well, but they both kind of treat pain, depression, anxiety. Those are the three things they really target well. CBG, in my opinion, is better if you have digestive issues and anxiety, because it seems to work really well with those issues. Anxiety based with diet, bad bacteria in your gut and stuff like that. So the CBG is really good for that. I think that's Karina. I don't know if we had two people still in the Facebook user. We have a couple of other video to play too about setting healthy boundaries, and I think this one's really good because it's from an actual doctor. I think he kind of explains everything really well. You watched it with me. There's Rasta.
Yeah.
It is Karina. I thought so.
Oh, hi, Karina. I'll put the link down there if you want to click on the link.
But this guy's kind of he's going to go through boundaries. He kind of explains it really well. He talks about, in more. It's a 5-minute video, so he kind of explains it in more detail to help us all understand better. So we'll play this. Take a little smoky break. Get there and smoke your bowls, line them up, and we'll watch this 5-minute video, folks. Let me bring it up here and learn a bit. This guy goes in a little deeper, like I said, into boundaries. So maybe we'll learn a little bit something here. So,
Dr. Henry Cloud, and I want to take a moment here to give a simple definition of the word boundaries. Now, it's a word we hear a lot. It's all over the culture. It's, gets thrown around here and there. Maybe you've never heard of it. You've probably been living under a rock if you've never heard the word. But we throw it around, and a lot of times you kind of get confused. Mm-hmm. What is this boundary stuff about? I want to give my favorite definition of what boundaries are all about. A boundary, pure and simple, is a property line. It's a property line. When you think of your house or your apartment, whether you rent or own, there's a property line that does something. It defines your property. What is yours versus what is your neighbor's, okay? And there's a line there. Now, what a boundary does, once it defines that property, it gives us 3 really important things that we have to have in order to thrive. Number 1, it tells you who's in control of that property. Okay, it's your house, it's your apartment. You have legal control of it, right? You can decorate it how you want. There's stuff your neighbor can't come over and say, well, I don't like the color, I'm going to paint your living room. No, they can't. That's yours. You control it. Number 2, you have freedom to do what you want to do. You have choices. They're not, somebody else can't dictate. Not only can they not do to your property what they want to do, you get to do what you want to do with your property. You have freedom to do what you want to do. And the third thing is, because freedom always equals responsibility, that you're responsible for that property. So you own it. And what you find on it, what you're tolerating, what you're getting, that's your responsibility. Now, this is an amazing concept, because when we take it away from the physical space and talk about your life, a boundary defines you, defines your life, what you're in control of, and nobody else can. They don't get to control what you think and what you feel and what you're going to choose to do and what your talents are going to be and how you're going to exercise them. No, that's you. You get to, they can't violate those things. That's a foul. That's a trespass. Number 2, you have the freedom to decide all those things. And that control thing, that piece of control in there, you're in control of your feelings. You're in control of your choices. You're in control of how you invest your talents. They don't get to do that. And then thirdly, you're responsible for it. Nobody's going to do it for you. So when we start to figure out, wait a minute, this is my life. I own it. I'm in control of it. Nobody else can tell me how to live it unless I give them permission to. Now we're starting to be able to build the house we want to live in. Your house is your soul, right? You, your body, the boundaries of your skin. People can't violate that. That's not okay. Can't violate your head. They can't violate your heart unless we invite them in. Now, that's the other thing about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, okay? You have a house, you got a door, that's a boundary, but it opens and it closes. You get to figure out when you want to answer the door, who you want to open the door to. For robbers out there, you close the door. See, boundaries keep the bad stuff out and protect the good stuff that's in, but they open the door to do an exchange. We got trash in, we can open up and we can talk about our pain to somebody. We can get the stuff out of our life that we don't want. And also we can open the door, because sometimes somebody rings that doorbell and that's a FedEx package with a gift to you. Support and encouragement and love or whatever. But if we're in control, we look through that peephole. We say, who am I going to trust and who am I going to not? And we can open that door and we can close that door. Now, that's a boundary. And what we do in boundaries.me, which is the coaching program we have where you come join us, is over the course of time, I become your coach and talk about all these different concepts and give you tips and tactics and also, ways to do this, how to have that difficult conversation to set boundaries. What do you do when that person tries to control you? What do you do when you say no and then they get angry at you? Is there a way to calm them down and get them back on your side or not? And it's just all that stuff we need to know. But secondly, it's a community of other people that are on the path. I love our boundaries.me community because what they do is they put their issues up there, their questions or what they tried and what worked.
Yeah, but the rest of it I think is about as a group. But I think that's with any community, even with Misfit Island, we can, all talk openly about boundaries. I think, or mental health. I think that's what I want. This group to be separate. We can a whole bunch of men openly talking about mental health. Setting boundaries that are respectful of each other and openly talking about them. Because I think if you don't communicate that across, that just causes more issues.
Absolutely. And I like what he said about boundaries are not walls. They're just lines and borders, and they can be changed and they can be opened and, at the right time, and it's very important, like I said, to be able to keep those boundaries, because if you let them go just a little bit, they're not going to take them boundaries serious,
Yeah. Some of us have boundaries too, because we've experienced either, a very lonely childhood. In my case, I have a big wall up because of that, or the fact that we've had broken relationships. A lot of people put up walls after that and set up really high boundaries where they don't let anybody in, and that's difficult it's difficult to heal from. When you have traumatic things in your life and then you have these boundaries because of that trauma, and hard to overcome sometimes.
I love that, Ashley. Their response isn't my responsibility. I seen you post that or something on a post you had the other day, and I wrote it down somewhere. That and I will no longer let other people tell me how I think about myself. Is another quote, or how I feel about myself, even.
Yeah, the childhood trauma definitely makes boundaries, and also, when I guess another thing that I have experienced in my life is when I got close to somebody and then they passed away, and it's hard to want to be close to somebody when you think they may just die and disappear out of your life again, and that's a fear that I experienced myself. Because it happened about 11 years ago. I lost a really good friend in a 4-wheeler accident, and it's been hard to get close to people since then.
Understandable. I moved around a lot, due to my dad, having relationship problems of his own. So I didn't have a lot of relationships that I'd build them, then I'd move. I'd build them, they'd move. So after a while, I created unhealthy boundaries and put up walls. Thanks for sharing that, Dan, by the way.
Yeah, it's I experienced a lot of death that time. I lost my friend, and then my cousin was murdered, and that was 11 years ago. And I had to deal with, the loss of my cousin and not deal with that until years later, the loss of my friend, and something that I still deal with,
Yeah.
I lost my best friend that I had that I grew up with passed away when I was like 14. So that kind of made it hard for me to get to where I would get close with people and really become good friends with them. Because talked one night, said hey to him, catch you in the morning, man, and went to go down to go to school and got the phone call. He wasn't able because he had died the night before at like 12 something in the morning, and it was like, what? So yeah,
Dang.
That's something that hit me really hard as a teenage kid. That made it hard. I just grasped then desperately at just wanting friends. So that's where I just went berserk with wanting a friend. Anybody, let's hang out. And I didn't make great choices there with good boundaries. It was all bad boundaries.
Yeah. Well, I can relate to that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different boundaries, and a lot of them are forced upon us, by things that we experience in our lives, especially when we deal with death. Or one of the hardest things I see is when a middle-aged woman loses her husband or wife. Those people they have boundaries that they never get over, that they have the rest of their lives. They will never open their hearts again. And
yeah, hell yeah, Mike. That's very true. For a lot of us, they move. Those boundaries can move as long as people show and prove out that they are a very trustworthy and genuine person. Then that is what happens.
Thanks, Debbie and Ashley. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Creative.
Yeah, positive, right?
Yeah, 3 years isn't that long ago. It's definitely. Thanks for all the comments. I'm trying to catch up here in the comments.
Yeah, I understand that, Josh.
Oh yeah, much love, Creative. Much love.
Yeah, for sure. I also have I would say another wall that I put up, and then I guess a bigger boundary was in 2016. After my house got raided, I got arrested for cannabis. I lost like probably 80% of my friends. They just quit texting back. And it still is a hard time because I still don't understand why it happened, or why they quit talking to me, other than the fact that they felt like the community was talking down on me and they had to separate themselves from that. Because when I got arrested, it was a big deal in my town. I was on the news. There were news stations that reported 2.5 hours from Quincy. It was a big deal, and my friends kind of separated themselves.
They got scared if they had anything to do with you, then they would end up being presumed guilty and be looked at and sought to be watched. And so they were like, "Oh, get that." Man.
And that made me set up, a lot of boundaries with friends or who even I let in my life.
Yeah.
I know I had, whenever I got sober, I found out who all my real friends were, and I lost a lot of, first of all, alcohol was my best friend at that time, but, I lost a lot of friends, so I thought, but, as recovery went by, I realized that those were just people, associates in my life, drinking buddies, Granted, some of them are still around, and they still talk to me, but a lot of them weren't, so...
Yeah,
I know that's a different circumstance you're talking about, but I can relate to losing a group of friends at one time. It felt like, nobody wanted to talk to me no more because I didn't drink. Well, that was exactly why. So I understood that, but yours is a different situation. Sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, I had to. That was part of healing too. Because 2 years ago, I was angry about that, and now I'm not angry, and I've had to get over that anger and let it go, and realize, like he said, they were just shadows of my life, and realize they were just part of my life, and there's a future, a great future without them. There's 7 billion other people on Earth to make friends with. So,
and you saying that, like, that kind of
sorry to hear that.
really resonates. That you had something happen that I watched my neighbor in our old town have that happen to him. He got full-blown rage. I watched everything come outside. They put him in cuffs at first and all that. And the first thing I did was took a fucking bag of all sorts of edibles, joints that I rolled up, and flour. And I'm like, hey, dude, you need to smoke. Let's smoke, man. And he's like, are you sure, dude? Like, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck, dude. You need to medicate now. They just took everything. Like, let's sit down and powwow. And that's what I did. And I continuously, even though they were right down the street and they were watching him and everything, I continuously went over and still went and hung out. And he was like, you're one of the only ones out of everybody. And there's people I knew for like 20 years and they don't talk to me no more because this happened. And he's like, you're just like, let's do it. And I'm like, there's no reason not to. So, that it does prove out things, because he had that same thing. And it was just like, they were scared is all it is. To me, it was just like, whatever. Okay. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. So look at me all you want.
Yeah. Kim said something about people, sometimes people are seasons. And one of the things I realized that there's, it's like actors in a movie. A lot of people in my life play permanent roles, and a lot of people, they play just cameos. They come in and everybody's in my life for a reason, whether it be a permanent part or, like I said, a cameo. And I like to learn from everybody and get what I can. A little black sugar or black cherry diamond.
There you go.
Yum yum.
But yeah, people play an important part in our lives. Sometimes it's just to learn a lesson, to teach me something. Sometimes it's there for support, and sometimes it's there just to be that person, like my wife that's been there for 20 years, a permanent fixture.
Always. Everybody needs one at some time. And you got to think about how you want someone else to treat you. So be there for somebody, because that sure to hell is what you would want and what you would need. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
For a lot of years, I lived by do unto others as they do unto me. Now I try to do unto others as I'd like them to do unto me.
Yes, very much so. That's something that I have always struggled with, where I've always done. You treat me a certain way, you just showed me how you want me to treat you, bet. And I'll flip it around and just do like I would want you to do me. Either way, however, which way you're treating me, I'm going to still try to show you how I want you to do.
Right.
Oop.
Running behind on the comments again. Got a lot of comments. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to hit them reaction buttons, guys. Appreciate all the comments and stories and sharing here. Got a little, but yeah, we all need to establish boundaries. It's a really healthy thing for our mental health, and I really didn't know that until I started my own psychedelic therapy and realized my own inner boundaries and how how I operate and why things were kind of out of control is because I didn't have those boundaries. We all have an energy level too. A lot of people who have mental illnesses are bipolar, and it's hard to navigate life a little bit harder to navigate life for us. So I think that I have more boundaries because of that, because there's certain triggers or certain situations that I don't like to get into. And there's also reasons why I don't get in other apps. Like I don't have Snapchat, and I get asked that all the time. Why don't you have Snapchat? I'm like one of the few people who don't, because there are things on there that encourage bad behaviors that I don't want to get into.
Yep.
Sexual things, like for men, like I don't like to get on there and have sexual things in my face, when I'm not trying to.
Yeah, you'll sit and they'll send in XXX fan shit as a new friend request or some stupid shit like that. I know exactly what you mean, and that shit, it's wrong. And they put it on there and they try to base it off of your profile. If you say you're single, or you like girls, and and that's what they try to do, and it's rude, because that was not what it was intended for in any way.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I tried Snapchat 3 times and I ended up deleting it because I always felt like my boundaries were being violated. I was like, I felt like icky and gross. I'm like, so I got off of it and I wiped my hands of it. I'm like, my friends use it to talk about cannabis and stuff, and I'm like, I don't care if I'm missing out on stuff. I'm avoiding it because it crosses my boundaries every time I try to get on it. And there's a lot of data that shows that too, that Snapchat is not good for you. And I feel it when I go on there. And so I just avoid it altogether.
Yep.
So I'm just a Facebook and Instagram person, really.
Absolutely, Josh. Right there. Well said.
So we all have,
into the desert on. Is that horse's name Fred?
What's that?
I asked him if that horse's name was Fred. You guys, Rick, you might remember that Fred's riding Fred. Fred's riding Fred. Fred's riding Fred. And his name was? I don't know what his name was, so we just called him Fred.
Fred.
Absolutely, Josh.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people don't realize you can have boundaries, that even apps can cross boundaries, and they do it on purpose. They're all working on an algorithm, and sometimes they want to cross those sexual boundaries, especially with men. I know women, I talk to women on Snapchat. They don't see the same thing men don't, because they know that we are men, and we have so much more sexual content on our Snapchat than a woman does. Because I've heard women say, like, I don't ever see sexual content on there. I'm like, that's because it knows you're a woman. And so that's how it works. And
yeah, and a lot of sales people or sales pitches and sales techniques are there to break boundaries and push boundaries, and that's how they try to get to your whatever.
Josh says my Snapchat's full of fans. Yeah, it's weird. They randomly send you friend requests or whatever, and I'm like, I don't even know these people. And then if you do add them, before you know it, they're posting half pornography and
sit in the living room, watch your show,
trying to sell their OnlyFans site, like he said. And if you do have a kid on there, if you're a parent, you should definitely monitor that, because especially if the thing knows, because I don't know what it posts for a kid, but I know what the content it posts for an adult is pretty inappropriate.
Yep. Definitely, if you got a kid on there, gotta look at it, see what it does.
Yeah, woman. I'm assuming that's a woman. Random men feel more free to send inappropriate messaging. Yeah, so your boundaries are crossed more on there.
I think it's Karina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they know it's going to be deleted, or not deleted immediately. That's how the app works.
Actually, I had it for a short time too, and I didn't get anything either sexually, but I'm married and so are you, so maybe that's the reason we didn't hit the right algorithm. the single people algorithm. They're like they're all
species,
fucking married buddy duddies. We won't show them
the
nothing.
species that pushes sex is men. We're the more, the kind of the more aggressive species that pushes towards. So women don't have, testosterone that makes men more horny in any way, I guess you could say.
Mine,
So working with science when they do it, they know how men operate, women do, and they use it against
Okay,
us.
it's Stephanie. It's not Karina. I'll put the link back down there again.
mine,
Stephanie.
my Snapchat says I'm married, and I get all that still.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it probably knows that a lot of men cheat or or will cheat. I guess that's not cheating, but some women would definitely not like it.
I got that song stuck in my head.
Yeah, I'll get it. And the moment I look at it, I'll go look at their profile, and I'll see it says like a XXX thing, and I'll be like, report sexual content, inappropriate, fraud, scam. I do it every time that one pops up, and I figure eventually they'll stop sending that to me because I report it, and they don't want it reported. They want to get the money off of it and all that, so they're going to stop sending it to me so they can keep those up. And I'll say for about the past 2 months, I haven't gotten anything like that now. So I might have fucking fucked their algorithm up on that, and they're like, "Yeah, don't send it to that guy. He's going to get us in trouble."
Right. Oh, geez, Vicky. That sucks.
Oh, man. That would be brutal.
Quit searching for it, Frank.
No, I rarely go on that one. I did some funny photos with the filters.
It is cheating, actually. Though there's a difference between, I guess, looking at pornography and then engaging with somebody who's real, sending you nude pictures. Yeah, that's kind of different.
I would still say that either way, it's still cheating, because that's supposed to be something sacred. Right?
Yeah, I can see it both sides. Yeah, but those are real people, and then they try to engage married men to get you to pay to go somewhere else to see their OnlyFans or whatever they're selling.
Word up.
Come on, Wayne.
Oh,
man. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Governor. Hello, Governor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess those are boundaries too, to establish with your married, that say like, hey, these things bother me if you do these, and those are boundaries too.
Yep.
People may not know that. You may marry somebody who likes watching pornography and not realize that it bothers you, and that's always good to establish those boundaries.
Yep.
Stephanie, I put the link in the comments if you want to go there and give permission to StreamYard.
Because we won't hide from that fact. The fact is that there's people watch pornography, and there's plenty of data to show that. So we're not going to act like people don't.
Right.
Hey, Dwayne.
My grandmother would call them horse. My grandma would too, probably.
They're all horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine free.
I think mine and my great aunt would have said floozies. Yep.
Pussies.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Pussies, floozies.
Pussies, floozies. Trans.
Definitely changing our evolution, because 100 years ago we didn't have access to all this pornography or sexual content. So society is definitely different than it was 100 years ago. It's definitely probably not good for our species or evolving.
Maybe copy and paste it in your browser, Stephanie. I mean, it's not important. We're not doing a giveaway, but I mean, it's just, it might give you trouble the next time you go. It'll get you for a couple days, I guess. I don't know how long it's been kicking people back and forth. Jezebel, that's another one. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yep.
But yeah, if you copy it in your browser, it should work.
Yep.
Bathhouses, yeah.
Bathhouses,
But
yeah, the old
definitely won't-
bathhouse.
They definitely didn't have sexual content advertising all over, though. That's for sure. Or
No,
access to-
the scrub and rub was kind of secret.
yeah.
Where'd my fucking top go? There it is. Frank, you're hiding it
Yeah.
on me.
That probably leads to a lot of divorces too. A lot of people engage in porn instead of engaging. They engage with porn instead of engaging with their significant other, and then it leads to not connecting with them and a lot of issues in relationships, which can eventually lead to divorce. So
I've watched that boundary get crossed amongst a lot of people that I know, and I've seen it multiple times. Just where they'll be like, the boundary is we can have an open relationship, but I don't get to know about whatever you're doing with whoever you're doing it with. That's all. You can do whatever, but I don't want to know anything about it. And then somebody else will say something, and next thing you know, it's a whole whirlwind of problem because now they know who they slept with, and now it's not okay because they both know that person. Or vice versa, they both find out, and now they're both jealous over who they got to sleep with because they both didn't want that to happen or something like that with that person. So then it creates bad deal, and I've seen that happen to where relationships have been completely destroyed and the people aren't together anymore. And it's like, whoa, like, wow. Like, that's not, like, you didn't see that would be something that would happen, that somebody else may say, hey, they slept with so-and-so, and then screw everything up with your relationship just because they didn't know that that's what you guys' rules or boundaries were with it. So because they weren't exposed boundaries and no one else knew, they were all crossed and everything got screwed up.
I heard there was something that happened between Chuck Rock and the table lamp. I'll have to hear more about it.
I am so happy that I no longer have a lamp on this table right here. So happy. I don't have to deal with that issue any longer. We should send Chuck that lamp.
There you go.
That would be a good
I haven't seen him for a while. He might get lost on the lake again on purpose this time.
Then he wouldn't have to worry about crossing any boundaries. The boundary would be there with him.
Yeah.
Well, back to the actual why I actually don't have Snapchat too is I have bipolar, and bipolar people tend to be hypersexual people. They don't really understand why they tend to be more hypersexual, but it's something that I have issues with as well, where just being out like that can turn you on without even wanting you to. It's just the energy inside of your brain. I know a lot of people who deal with that as well, the hypersexual part of being bipolar. It's good in a way if you have a relationship, but it can be brutal if you're single, and
Always want it and then you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a little slut when I was younger, so I can relate to that. Never did like the relationships. Well, that's the easiest way to say it, But, to confirm it, I'm bipolar or have bipolar. And, I didn't know it back then, but that was one of the things I come to find out in my therapy. That's why I was so hypersexual, is because of the bipolar and the ADHD. So there's a lot of truth to it.
Josh,
There's other issues that create that too. Not growing up with a mom, always trying to find that, that motherly or womanly figure in my life and shit like that. So, there's a lot more to it than just that.
That's fine. You guys can share that on Mental Health Monday.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm always game.
It's never too much information. I know a lot of people deal with that. And
Hit me with a stick all the time.
The same with, I don't know if Ashley, Karina are bipolar, but I know a lot of women who are bipolar deal with that same too, with having very hypersexual drive.
we're adults and it's a medical show. But ha ha ha. No, I'm kidding. I can also be a brat. But you probably figured that out, Ashley. I'm a dork.
Oh, are you wondering if you are bipolar because of our shows?
They have tests out there. You can go to your doctor. They have an MMPI test. MMPI, I think it is. Basically, it lets you know what kind of mental health symptoms. It takes out all that. You know, you go through a test and just be completely honest with it. And they put a chart to it and they figure it out and they do some diagnosing or some reading and researching. And then just basically they put a formula into it and look in the book and tells you, you know, what the closest diagnosis to what them symptoms are. You can probably go to your closest county mental health facility and tell them you would like to talk to their recovery support specialist or peer specialist and say you'd like to have a mental health assessment, and they will help you out. And if they say, okay, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you this, we're going to give them, say, hey, I just want to figure out what my diagnosis is right now. Don't you start feeding me all these pills.
Yep.
Because that's what they like to do.
I'm pretty sure that they diagnosed me with something. I'm not quite sure what. They wanted me to be on Wellbutrin, and they wanted to be on a sleeping pill of some sort. I know they said depression and anxiety, but I don't know if there was more to it, you know, than what they had in there.
Right. Yeah, that's the first thing they want to do is start feeding you fucking meds, you know, rather than teaching you some coping skills first to see if you can maybe do that without the meds, you know. But they don't make money off of coping skills.
I told them I got my med.
Yeah.
Man, I had to go get some baking soda. I had severe
heartburn going.
Heartburn that all of a sudden hit. It was actually starting to hurt my back.
That's the worst.
Yeah, the baking soda almost immediately helps. I love how it helps almost immediate.
I've been told that, and I've never actually done it.
Yeah, it was moving. It was starting to move further up my esophagus. I'm like, I was getting uncomfortable there. Couldn't help it. I couldn't do anything but think about it. That's better now. Better.
Gotta get rid of that. I had ADHD too. They wanted me on the generic for Ritalin as well when I was a kid, when I was younger, and then they wanted me to continue it, but I was like, no. I used to spit it out when I got it in the nurse's office. They were dumb enough to let you stand in front of the sink, so I would spit it out as I went to take it, and never actually took it, and I just smoked bud. My mom was like, you're on honor roll. How the hell did that happen? And I was like, I smoked weed. My mom was like, no, you didn't, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I smoked weed. That's what I did. I sold weed, and that's how I had money all the time. I was buying shit for the house when I was younger, getting into high school and that. And my mom was like, how are you buying like extra gallons of milk and shit? And I'm like, don't worry. That was the story. And I had my car out front, and it had all sorts of fucking scale in it, quarter pound of weed, fucking baggies. I was all set up, fucking ready to go, drive to school the next morning. Everybody be like, hey man, I need a bag.
And I was the same way, career. I was really non-compliant with my meds too. So now I can, the lion's mane and the CBD, CBG, you know, I think you ordered some of that, Karina, will really be helpful to you. And that helped you be, you know, not have to deal with pharmaceuticals, because I don't take any as well myself for 3 years now. I've been off pharmaceutical medicine.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's why I created my herbal medicine, was the fact I found these other medications that work well to treat it without having to go to the doctor's office. And treat a lot of other things as well.
That's a good boundary to set and define too, to be able to knock those pharmaceuticals out of your life.
Yeah.
Where you can go with that natural and stay in that boundary of things to where it's a lot safer.
Setting boundaries for ourselves is important. You know, I mean, that's like, you know, I see all these diagnoses, you know. I started off with anxiety and depression. Then I was more honest about it, you know, because at first I wasn't, you know, I didn't want them to know this or I didn't want to know that. Well, they're my professionals. They're the ones that are going to help me find out answers. So I need to be upfront and most honest as I can with them, most above anybody. So I started getting a little bit more honest, and I found out I had bipolar disorder. Then I was more honest, and they said, no, you have ADHD all over the place, you know. And, you know, who knows? There's still some things I didn't put in there that, you know, are legalities that I didn't want known, you know, we'll just put it that way. And, you know, I didn't want to get locked away for one. So I don't talk about things like that, you know, those. But, you know, that's, like I said, a legal issue. But there's the diagnoses are, you know, just really, really good educated guesses. And, you know, they come the closest to what they think it could be, you know, and they're the experts. So they know. And then I don't have the book right here, you know, but there's a book that says that's got every diagnosis in it, the DSM, the Diagnostic Service Manual. And it tells you, you know, how to figure out it's not good to diagnose yourself, but it's good to have, you know, these professionals use that book and then test, figure out what's the closest you are. But you got to be, you know, honest, completely honest. You know, watch your legalities. I don't know. I don't tell them too much, but I tell them most everything. Basically how I'm acting. I don't have to say what I've done. I just say how I'm acting, how I'm feeling, you know, what's going on up here.
Yep, be honest with what you're feeling.
Yes.
Yep.
Sure.
And that's a good boundary to have with yourself, is to make sure that you maintain that boundary of being honest with yourself. And then making sure that you set the boundary of not being too honest and maintaining some self-preservation with things.
Right. Absolutely.
Sure. I was looking at something here.
That's true, Josh. That's key to know when you're off balance, you know, and that's them warning signs, them alarms, you know. And I'll talk one of these days. I keep saying it. I need to do it. Make up a presentation about RAP, because it tells us them early warning signs and things when things are starting to break down, and when things are even getting even worse, you know. And then it's got a crisis plan and a post-crisis plan, you know, and it's all written down on paper. Basically, you know, you could look at that and it shows you, oh shit, this is what I do when I'm in this situation. Because I know for me, you know, I'm not thinking of what to do when I'm in that mental crisis, but if I look down, I can read something, it's going to make a little sense, you know. And that's why it's right there in this book, in this little manual, 3-ring notebook, just a little manual, you know, easy to navigate. Because if you think about it, most times, you know, if I have help with something with my mental health, you know, I can come out of it pretty easily, you know. And if it's something that simple, well, just think about a trailer. A trailer takes about 3 minutes to burn down, tops. You know, that's a poof. Then those some bitches are gone. You know, that's why a lot of people in trailers, they'll have, well, we had the emergency numbers on our refrigerator. You know, that way we could either grab that magnet or grab that piece of paper. We didn't stand there and use a phone, but we grabbed that and we could run outside, or just hit 911. We didn't have it back then when I was a little kid. There wasn't 911. But, you know, you make these phone calls, and it was like an emergency thing right down on paper. Because when you're running around trying to do stuff, you're not thinking of what what's that number again? You know, like Homer Simpson, hey operator, what's the number for 911? You know,
Right.
it's you're in that critical moment. You know, having something written down in paper in black and white, or even colored, whatever you know you want to do. You can make it your own. But the RAP thing, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, kicks ass. And I'll get on that, guys. Sorry, I've slacked.
You're good.
Sure. I was looking at some mental health news, but there's not much in the news this week.
No news?
Well, I mean, yeah, there is. You could go. You could talk about that. Girls Inc. launches new program to help girls' mental health. I don't know what that is. I'm trying to.
You don't
Get
have
there.
to do it all by yourself, Ashley. And if we take care of it along the way, we don't have to take care of it all at once.
No.
But yeah, we can do a little mental health break. I have mental health news usually I talk about. Something in the news that is mental health and worthy of talking about.
Extra.
We'll shoot that video here. There you go. It glitches out there at the end. I gotta fix that. But I have no idea what this is actually about. This is going to be a surprise story as much as to me, because I didn't know. I didn't have a story beforehand anyway. So this is supposed to be. It's about. We'll find out what it's about.
I hear you, Josh.
Empowering girls by offering them virtual support. Jacqueline Lee. Teen Girls and Mental Health, a new partnership is helping address the growing crisis, empowering girls by offering them virtual support. Jacqueline Lee joined us with the details. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Hey, Michael, good morning. Look, so many celebrities are talking about mental health. Think Billie Eilish, Selena Gomez, and Naomi Osaka. They publicly discuss their own struggles, which helps normalize the conversation. But there are so many teens who are struggling, and now 2 organizations are working together to help.
It's important to have spaces where you feel safe, as well as resources where you know how to advocate for yourself.
17-year-old Brianna from Texas is taking her mental health advocacy journey into her own hands. The pandemic revealing mental health challenges for the high school senior.
You learn that isolation can really lead to a downward spiral. It becomes a problem when you just let yourself suffer more and more.
Now, more than ever, teen girls are struggling with mental health. A recent Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report showed almost 60% of U.S. girls reported persistent sadness and hopelessness, double that of teenage boys.
When we don't improve our mental health, it might stay, the way it is, which is still a big detriment to us learning to live our best life.
Learn to Live, an online app offering a number of therapy programs, now partnering with over 55,000 teens from Girls Inc., a nonprofit leadership organization to offer virtual support with common teen challenges like social anxiety, depression, and stress.
Our girls will very quickly tell you it's really important to take charge of your mental well-being. It's something that you deserve, and Learn to Live is such a great solution and so easily accessible.
Girls Inc. participant Tiffany joining the organization as a mentee when she was just in elementary school. Now, a freshman in college, says finding your community is crucial.
I'm very excited for the girls to be able to express themselves with somebody who can support them mentally, that will really help them be the best versions of themselves.
And what's great about this program is that it's available 24/7, allowing teens to take advantage of the tools available to them. And it's completely free to Girls Inc. participants. Michael.
Completely free. I love that. Thank you so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know what that was about, but that is our mental health news. We kind of share something in the news, and anything that's good for teenagers, especially teenage girls. There's just a lot of mental health issues going on among our young people, especially girls. And we were talking about how the seems like younger women have a lot of issues with self-esteem And then as you get older, the men have more issues, and that seem to have 4 times as much the suicide rate, but as women. So, and that was some numbers that we just talked about last week. Adult men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women, but it doesn't mean that women don't deal with a lot of issues, and especially young women, especially in our schools. And there's a lot of mental illness going on among our youth. So any program that is great for that, I definitely support. That's awesome that a high schooler actually started that.
See you later, Mike.
I do not remember what the stats were for youth, though. I think it was pretty even with girls and boys taking their lives, if I remember right, Rasta. Do you remember?
Say that again.
I don't remember what the stats were for the youth about the suicide rates for younger people. I just know for adults between 25 to 42, it's 4 times as likely men are to commit suicide.
It rung in my head, and the only stats on them I really remember was how much the elderly increased.
Yeah. Either way, you look across the whole board, though, everybody's struggling with mental health, and women, men, children, elderly, and it's just the society we built is killing our souls. We work too much, and it drains us, and people have kids, and their kids are doing 100 things, and trying to navigate life is just stressful. And we don't have the tools. We built this nice society, but we didn't build all these tools how to deal with it, the downfalls of it, and we have not caught up with that. Western medicine's way of dealing with it is prescribing, a medicine to try to fix it, and how's that? Hasn't worked.
Let's cure the symptoms. We'll fix the symptoms. That'll do it. Right.
Meanwhile, the whole rest of the world, the Eastern medicine approaches it as like, let's find out what's wrong at the base, and what's truly wrong, and fix it from there instead of just trying to mask the symptoms of it.
That's why AA work. I don't ever knock the program of AA. Not really great into the meetings anymore. They were great at the beginning, but the program itself, teaches a person a lot of things, and it's it's the only thing that scares people away. It's got a lot of God in it, but you don't have to use God. It's a God of your understanding. But anyway, the principles behind them steps, it teaches people, boundaries. It teaches self-boundaries. It teaches self-respect, admiration, honesty, courage. It teaches me that, if you stay honest, you don't have to get honest, All right, Vicky, you have a good night, hon.
Right.
I hear you. I had to teach myself a lot. That's probably why I drank for so many years, but I didn't know how to live any other way, really. Still learning a lot. Well, look, I'm only about 25 years old. Because generally, whenever a person starts drinking real heavy, they stop maturing. And that was about 14. That's real heavy. First time I got drunk, I was 10. But I started really heavy drinking when I was 14. And so, I didn't really know anything more. And I'm 10 years sober. So, you had 14 and 10, about 25. So I learned fast in the last 10 years, but still, I still got a lot of learning and a lot of growing up to do. A lot of growing to do, period. But I'm here. I'm up for it. Let's go. Bring it on.
Yeah, I'm always learning till the end of the time, till my days are done.
Oh, yeah. I remain teachable. The day I got it is the day I got it, all right.
Learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
Try to. Yeah, there's a lot of videos on toxic behaviors, but I think we went over a lot of them tonight about just, a lot of different things. But there are a lot of toxic things in relationships too. And I think one One of them is people trying to control you about who you can establish, who you can talk to, who's in your life. And I think you should set boundaries like that from the get-go. Let people walk all over you, and because I see that a lot. I see men walk all over women, and then the women allow it to happen by not establishing boundaries from the get-go, and then men knowing those women don't have boundaries and taking advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. It happens both ways,
right? For sure. I just see it from my perspective, and there's a deal with that in the daily, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that, actually.
That's it. 48 field 84 there.
Jim Cooper, that is very correct.
For sure. But I'm not in a relationship, but I do know, about respecting another woman and establishing that communication. I had to respect her boundaries. And I'm a spiritual person. I'm not religious anymore, but the girl I dated last she was religious, and I always respected that boundary of her religion and not, knocking on it, because I always believe it's my spiritual part that whatever you believe in is part of you, and that makes you, and I have to respect that boundary. And so religion doesn't really bother me a lot than those boundaries, respecting that. And in fact, I date women who are Catholic, and I'm not, I'm a spiritual person, and I relate to more like a pantheist. That's what I am, a pantheist, but whatever science can prove, that's kind of what I believe.
Oh yeah, you can, be with someone and totally just disagree with some things. Hell, I've been married to a Dallas fan for 20 years. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I wish she would have heard that. That would have made it all the better. But she gets
Dallas fan.
Your wife is too?
My wife's dad is, so she just chuckled her ass off when you said it.
Yeah, no, I understand my toxic traits too. It may have taken me a long time and wasted a lot of relationships and ruined a lot of shit that I fucked up. But I learned and corrected them and forgave myself, and you have to move on.
And that's it, guys. Be gentle with yourself, along your journey, definitely, because we're going to make mistakes, that's part of learning on our journey, just try to find the silver lining or just the lesson in whatever we go through, A mistake's not a bad mistake if we can learn from it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when I started respecting my own boundaries, I started realizing I was just respecting other people's too. Because, especially with the texting thing, I don't even understand why I was like that. It would be anxiety driven. Somebody didn't text me back. I felt like I took it personal, and then I kind of ruined the relationship based on that. And I quit doing that now, realizing that people are busy, that we all have lives. It's not a matter of personal. They're not attacking me when somebody doesn't message back.
Yeah, and if you cross a boundary, don't, like I said, be gentle. Don't beat yourself up about it. Sometimes that's how we learn where the boundary is.
Yeah.
Just try not to repeat it, and be mindful and apologize. Sorry about that. I didn't know, but I'll be mindful and not do it again. That's what I try to do anyway. It seemed to work so far. Communication is the key, right, Debbie?
Yep.
I also had a stalker. I had a serious stalker when I was 19 years old. I never really found out who it was, but I dated this girl for 2 years, and somebody harassed us. 2 years, calling at all times of the day. They had a voice disguiser. They even, once when I was out of town, they jumped out behind her. They would knock on her window in the middle of the night. And one night, she's just a brave woman, walked out there. Somebody jumped out in the ski mask and knocked her out unconscious. And then he started threatening us, and I never did figure out who it was. I set a lot of boundaries based on those 2 years where, like, I lived in straight anxiety when I was dating this girl. The weird thing is, when we broke up, it ended, And I still to this day don't know who it is. I have my suspicions, but it sucked. Like this person like really harassed me, and this was when we didn't have like all these technologies. Now we have kind of trace phone calls and have cameras that are more affordable. But damn, it sucked, and it made me put up a lot of boundaries in myself and how I think that's why sometimes when somebody didn't text back, maybe it was anxiety driven based on the fact that I was panicking, maybe something was wrong. Or because when I dated this girl, I made sure like if she disappeared, didn't text back, I would like thought that somebody, you know, she was in trouble. Because this person even broke in our house twice. He was in the house when we were there once. We called the police, and apparently the police did a really shitty job at searching the house, and he was still in the closet. We left and came back, and the door in the house were open, and he had gotten out. But that's how close we got to catching him, apparently.
Damn.
He was hiding in the closet in the house while the police were there, and the police just didn't check this part of the closet.
Man.
But yeah, like I said, trauma-based boundaries you put up based on shit that happened in your life. And then you put up these boundaries to try to protect, you know, the way you feel. The big dog might help. She had a big dog, but we always figured it was somebody we knew really close because the one time I actually parked my truck blocks away from her house to try to make this person come and knock on her window because he did it multiple times. And he did one time, and it was the night we got into an argument, and I was drunk, and I slept on the couch. The only time he ever did. And she said she froze and didn't know what to do because she knew I'd chase him out. I would run out the door after him, and she didn't know what would happen, you know, if he pulled a gun out or something. But that's just weird. That made me think it was somebody that knew us really well. And
yeah.
It was 2 years of hell. But, you know, I dated this girl. We lived together and had this person constantly harassing us.
Yeah, that would suck.
I used to have a big dog. He was a 120-pound Doberman, but
I got a big old beast.
She had a poodle that her mom had that did not like people, would definitely bite anybody that came by it. But it wasn't a very good security dog.
Oh my God.
Dang. Yeah, that can definitely have a kind of adult fears, you know, based on stuff like that. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah, that was a bad traumatic experience, Ashley. Sorry you did have to go through that.
Yep. That's not cool.
Excuse me.
4 boxer pits. Yeah, those are the best security ever.
Yeah, they're pretty dogs too. I talked to her on a face talk one time, her and her husband. Seen a couple of them. Well, I think I seen all of them. She went around the room. They were laying all over the place. At one time, we lived with me and my wife had 4 dogs, and we were staying with a buddy for a month until our
that was a big boy.
Model. And we had 8 dogs, and the smallest dog was about 100 pounds. The biggest at about 150.
Yeah, a dog can help you definitely establish your boundaries really well. You want to,
but they have none.
Just have a mean dog around.
Yeah.
Although sometimes dogs make people come into your boundaries too, because they're like, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" And
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the dog I have now. If we had somebody break in, hell, she'd make friends with them. Show them around a little bit. Here's the fridge. Here's the safe. Here's the, you know.
I had a 120-pound Doberman that was that way, totally intimidating, pure muscle. And he'd walk up to you and then he'd become your friend. But like he got out once in the mailman. He was running towards the mailman. The mailman was like, "Whole shit." He's like, I didn't know what to do. And then he's like, the Doberman walked up to him, started licking him, and he's like, "Oh, thank God."
I bet it did freak that mailman out.
Yeah.
Hell
And
yeah.
you know he's trained to freeze. You don't run.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Kim.
Get dogs and then live on a ranch, and then nobody will ever bother you. That's how you establish boundaries.
That's why I like living out here a quarter mile out of town.
Nobody bothers you.
Yeah, we got a German Shepherd Mastiff, Siberian Husky, and a Belgian Malinois Siberian Husky.
Damn. Yeah, you got some big ones.
Now the one's little, but that Mastiff German Shepherd is big.
I bet.
Yeah.
Amazon dude's afraid of the kids' turkeys. Hey, are turkeys as mean as geese? Because geese scare me too, because geese are just straight assholes.
Turkeys are assholes. Like, you walk up and it's the wrong time, oh, you're fucked. They're gonna go to fucking claw the shit out of you.
Get you some geese, Ashley. There's some mean mamma jammas. I've been attacked by them at the golf course several times.
Nice. No.
It was coming at it, flew at the golf cart, and I went, wham, and just fucking punched it and flew off.
It's great.
I didn't hit it hard, but I just did it. Freaking out, reflex.
You got a whole farm there, Ashley. Now you need some goats.
Yep.
Oh, oops.
You could get your own turkeys too, Ashley, but those are a lot bigger, bigger birds.
Mr. Seabiscuit in the house.
Yeah.
Who's Prime Minister Seabiscuit?
Mike.
I must have missed that part. I'll have to figure it out later when we go.
He is. That is Mr. Seabiscuit.
Yeah, so I can't remember something last night. Him and Frank and Wayne were talking about. They're fucking with each other and Chuck.
He was the only one with no name.
Yeah.
All has a name. He's Mr. Seabiscuit. El Capitan Seabiscuit.
Ashley, just buy 6 or 8 foot at a time. You know, go out and put you some, little flags up where you want all your poles, and then just start on the corners and just go from there.
Oh,
Put
yeah.
your corners in, and then fill in the rest.
How do you know when's one missing? That's when it gets hard. You're like, get so many, you don't know when one's missing.
One panel a week. There you go.
Because you got to keep count every night.
Don't just put up one panel though. Put up 2 corners, or put up the 2 panels. One here and one here for your corner. And once you get 2 corners, start with that, and maybe go to another corner.
The kids found dead bodies in the back. What?
Oh wow!
Like really found dead bodies?
Yeah, that's what I was getting. Like, really, or animal dead body of chickens?
I guess I know it's 2 places.
Oh, that's a good indication. Coyote.
Chickens, dead bodies of chickens. Gotcha.
Well, no, coyote would have ate it. You just seen pieces.
Yeah, there's a fox, coyotes. There's a lot of animals that eat chickens, and sometimes the chickens run off and go lay eggs and come back with more chickens. Some people tell me that happens too. Some of the chickens.
Oh yeah, I heard you talking coon. Coons maybe eat them sometimes. That's fucking weird. Wouldn't say. Yeah, I guess.
Chicken bodies. Just hoping it wasn't human bodies. We established it's bodies.
You built our house on a grave site, or what was it? Poltergeist.
Well, it could have been. There was a place in I-town where some there was a dead body that was found, but it was a homeless person who died of natural causes in the woods behind somebody's house. I think some kids found it while they were going through the woods. That's what I thought Ashley meant, something like that.
Yeah, Josh is a coon hunter. Well, a trapper, hunter, predator, period. He's a or coyote hunter. They go out coyote hunt and runs. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna hop down, guys. Appreciate you having me up. And you guys definitely set boundaries and take care of yourself at the same time with those boundaries.
Absolutely.
Hey, communicate them across. It's never disrespectful to communicate those across too. So, thanks for joining us tonight. And
hell yeah. Much love, guys. I'll see you guys.
Glad to have you, brother.
Yeah.
Right on, bud. Much love.
But we're winding down the show anyway. Thanks you guys, everybody joining us, and hit those reaction buttons. Got 11 people still watching here. And we are going to have a sesh after this show on Misfit Island. Mike, I think, setting it up now, and I don't know who else is going to join, but we'll have a bunch of us up. I'm going to put my stuff on mute, and I'm going to make my soup. Well, I'll put it on mute when I'm making noises, but a bunch of soup I need to make because I'm out. So I'm going to do that while we're going live here. And
right on.
15 minutes. Yeah, that's why Frank's going over there, I think, to get on that live.
Yeah, get set up, probably.
Yeah, but I appreciate the Mike not doing the live until we were done here. Appreciate that respect. And
yeah, absolutely. And that's just common courtesy. It's just the way Mike is. I love that about him.
Yeah, even though we changed the time tonight because of the fantasy leagues, but hopefully I got a winning team this year, and it was worth it.
Yeah, good luck to you, buddy.
I think they both work pretty well. CBG seems to work better for inflammation, I think, and it helps kind of target gut issues and that kind of the bacteria in your gut. But they both work pretty effectively for pain. But they work. I mix them together, and that's why I have the CBG pill. But yeah, THC is good for pain as well. If you smoke THC, or some people just don't use THC, but I use all three.
Absolutely.
I like CBD, CBG, and THC.
I take the pills that are CBD, CBG, and
Man,
there's
probably
my THC.
I don't know why my gut I got a little heartburn tonight. But I do, Karina, I do make those. I haven't made them in a while, but I am going to make some more soon. And a couple different strains.
Full spectrum, yep.
Get the full spectrum with all of them, all the cannabinoids. And I like CBN too. I like CBN at night. Get a little CBN. Get some really deep sleep. And I have the cannabis that I have, a strain that I have, turns into CBN as it ages really fast. It seems to, after a month or two, get a little CBN in it.
What's that, Theophilia or
Theophilia. And I can even see it in the color. I think that stuff that has CBN kind of the cannabis turns a little more orangish brown. It smells a little more earthy as CBN kind of takes over. Sometimes that just happens because that's what CBN THC that converts over due to ultraviolet light or UV light, and as well as oxygen. It's the aging of the plant. Yeah, for sure. Higher concentrates of CBN. And this is the strain that I've been growing for 5 years. And every time I press it, it's amber color. I've never gotten a light color out of it, but I've never had anybody else grow it to see what theirs looks like pressed. It could be just my lights or something, but every time I press it, I get a really dark, heavy color, no matter how soon I pick it or how late I do it. So it may be a plant that has natural CBN in it. I don't have any way to test it, and there's not a lot of companies that actually test CBN content.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know if it's needed in Illinois. Like, I know they have all those tests. I don't know if they test for CBN, but
yeah, I mean, a lot of grow shops will have the testing equipment, but I've only seen them test for the CBD and THC.
yeah, and THC. Yeah, it's not even capable of doing CBG yet either. But they said that they're working on that. Numb the pain at the expense of my liver. That's never good.
Absolutely, Kim. Your couch lock.
Couch lock. Yeah. But I need to go get some more antacid stuff, and we'll probably call tonight. We went over a lot of the what personal boundaries are. I almost forgot what we were talking about, because the acid's coming back and it's starting to feel uncomfortable. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for all the comments. We had a lot of people commenting. We appreciate that. And Ross, you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, guys, just remember what I said about your boundaries. Keep them boundaries, because if you let them push a little bit and a little bit and then a little bit, people ain't going to take your boundaries serious. And that's only going to be healthy for you. And that's what the goal is, to make yourself healthy. So, and if you skip them boundaries and you let them go a little bit, just keep reinforcing them, and be gentle with yourself all the way, always along the way. Much love, everybody.
For sure, man. Go check out greatrivermushrooms.com, my website. I appreciate everybody for all the love. And we sell a lot more than just mushrooms. So, as always, don't forget to love yourself. Don't forget to forgive yourself. And with that, anything is possible. So, we'll see you guys later.
Much love, everybody.
See ya.